Hey guys. Alright, we're going to read 2 chapters today. They are a little bit shorter each one, so I'm trying to make sure we get through this book before our e-learning time is over, and I want to make sure we finish it because it's so good. Alright, so we're going to read chapters 13 and 14 today. Just as a little reminder, in the last chapter they decided that it was time to leave Jackson Hole after they found out that that guy that was going through their stuff, well, they first took out the chips from their necks, and then they found that guy going through their belongings, and it turned out that was Tamara Dunleavy's chauffeur, and so they're scared that she's gonna like go after them or turn them in or something, so they just want to get out of Jackson Hole as fast as they can. And I was asking, just kind of something to think about at the end of the last chapter, like, where are they gonna go? I really don't know. I wasn't really expecting them to go to visit her, and now I really have no idea where they're gonna go because there's nowhere else to turn to. I know eventually they wanted to go to the police, but without Tamara Dunleavy, I don't know if that's an option for them or not anymore. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into 13. Chapter 13 is from Malik's perspective. All right, so remember, too, we just ended where they stole Tamara Dunleavy's Bentley. So they have this Bentley, which is, if you don't know, an incredibly expensive and nice car. So Malik says, "We're in the Bentley, headed out of town, with me behind the wheel. Yeah, that's right. I know how to drive. Not just Frieden. Back in Serenity, when we were planning our escape, we both taught ourselves some video games. It just happens that so far, Frieden has hogged all the driving. This is my first try, but it's all good. Hey, for a new driver, a Bentley isn't a half-bad car to break yourself in on. Glove leather seats practically form to your butt. The engine purrs like a kitten with a ride as smooth as silk. The dashboard reminds me of a spaceship's control panel. There's even a touchscreen with full internet, which is how we know that one of these costs $275,000, give or take, depending on the options, y'all. That is insane. That's about as much as like a nice new house. Depending on the options, like the internet, so your passengers have no trouble finding out how much you paid for the car. No sense being rich if nobody's jealous. Tamara Dunleavy's rich, although now, I guess she's technically poorer by one Bentley. But to her, that's a drop in the bucket. Having a billionaire mad at you is almost as scary as having the purples mad at you. Anybody that wealthy and powerful has to be considered a bad enemy. We can't know exactly what her intentions are, but she has already sent her driver to spy on us. When we knock him out and stole the car, we can't have bumped ourselves up on her list of BFS. I'm going to pause for a second, because most cars have something in them, so where if they do get stolen or lost, you can track them. I'm going to guess that a nice car like this Bentley would have such device in it, so if she reports this missing to the police, they would be able to track the car to find it, which would then find the kids. I don't know. Just thinking that and throwing that out there. That's why Eli reaches over and turns the radio to a new station. I'm disgusted. You're kidding, right? We have a satellite radio, DirecTV, streaming web video, and you want to listen to AM? AM is where we're going to hear what the police are looking for a stolen Bentley. If they start talking about roadblocks, it's time to ditch the car. And walk across Wyoming? Amber asks. It's better than being caught, Eli says firmly, but not much better, I add. I really love this car. So we listen to the news, and an hour goes by nothing. In the rearview mirror, I see Tori frowning. Surely that guy woke up by now. He bumped his head pretty hard, but he was only knocked out. Amber sounds haunted. If anything bad happens to him, it's our fault. We could have gotten him a doctor. We just came from the hospital. Some criminal mastermind you are, I snort. You're cloned from Clara Barton. I wish, Amber shoots back. The story's not in the news because it's no big deal. In the real world, some poor schnook probably brains himself every time the wind blows. Yeah, but this poor schnook works for a billionaire who's also one of the most prominent people in town, Eli argues. What affects Tamara Dunleavy is a big deal in Jackson Hole. Maybe he didn't tell the police about his yes because he doesn't remember, Troy puts in. He took a pretty major wallop. I have to laugh. Even if the guy has total amnesia, don't you think his boss is going to notice that she doesn't have a Bentley anymore? Tori's running again. Why would Tamara Dunleavy want to hide the fact that her car's been stolen? Isn't it obvious? We know too much about her and Project Osiris. If we get arrested, we might blab. Big deal, I comment. You blabbed to the cops in Denver, and all they did was send you to a shrink. This is different, Eli says. Amber was a random kid who came out of nowhere with a wild story. In this case, the cops would come after us, and we'd all be telling them the same story. They may not believe us, but they definitely would look into it. So she's writing off a $250,000 car, I challenge. Unless, Tori muses, she's got a way to find us anytime she wants. She's rich, not magic, I point out. That chauffeur was messing with our bags. What if he put tracking devices in them? Then she could come after us with private detectives or hired criminals. Or purple people eaters, Amber adds. We have to search the backpacks now. We pull over to the shoulder, pop the trunk, and fall on our bags. I snatch up the sparkly Princess Loser pack and dump out the contents. No homing devices, no computer chips, no microphones, no technology. What we find is money. There are 5 crisp $100 bills in the side pocket of each knapsack. All right, I say, clutching the cash. I don't get it. Why would the old bat send a driver to sneak money into our bags? I do, Tori says. She feels guilty. She's trying to help us. We came to her for help, Eli argues. She denied everything and sent us away. Tori is patient. She can't give us the kind of help we need, not without admitting her part in Project Osiris, but she didn't want to leave us lost and broke. She's a saint, Amber agrees. Nothing but cash to say, don't go away, Matt, just go away. She opens her hand and allows the 500s to flutter down to the soft shoulder. The rest of us practically break our necks chasing down every single bill. You're twice as crazy as the Denver cop thinks you are. You don't throw away $500. As if all the money in the world could ever make up for what Osiris did to us. Eli tries reason. If there's one thing we've learned about the outside world, is that it runs on money. We're going to need this cash for food and gas and shelter. And more band-aids, Tori adds. Malik's bleeding. Malik's hand snaps to his neck. He examines the blood smear and blanches. See what you did? He rages to Amber. I got injured, running down the money that you threw away. That's not it, Tori informs him. You've been bleeding for the past 50 miles. Why didn't anybody tell me? We were afraid you'd pass out behind the wheel and kill us all, Eli replies honestly. Seriously, Malik, it's fine. Your life's blood isn't draining away. Classic Frieden. When it's somebody else's blood, he's a hero. Sorry, you guys, says Amber. I just hate the idea of being bought off, that's all. For a few $100 anyway, I agree. She's actually kind of a cheapskate when you think about it, considering she's got billions. That gives me a brainstorm. I wonder how much it's worth to her to keep Osiris a secret. We could trade our silence for a big pile of money. I can hardly wait to find out who you're cloned from, Tori drawls. I take it as a compliment, even though she didn't mean it that way. Somebody loaded, that's for sure. Maybe that's why it's so natural for me to drive a car like this. Silence is the only thing we can't afford for any money, Amber says firmly. We need to tell our story and get justice. You tried telling our story in Denver, I remind her. It didn't turn out too well. Eli nods. We have to have the proof before we can go to the public. That's why we need Tamara Dunleavy to back up what we say. But she didn't back us up, counters Tori, and she never will. You mean that's it, I demand? Without the old bag, we can never prove who we are? Eli looks at each of us in turn. There's one other place to find evidence about Project Osiris. The conference room of the Plastic Works in Serenity. I'm blown away. Go back to Happy Valley? Troy looks thoughtful. It's not impossible, you know. Before we couldn't because of the invisible barrier. But now that we don't have those chips in our heads. Yeah, fine, we could get into town without throwing up our guts while our heads explode. But why would we want to? We almost got killed getting out of Happy Valley. My voice catches. One of us did get killed. Hector. I try not to lose it over what happened to the shrimp because, well, that's the kind of thing Hector would do. But the truth is, I think about him all the time. At least when I'm not doing something else, like sliding down the bed of a dump truck into a wood chipper or having a sophisticated piece of electronics cut out of my neck. Even when I'm cruising down a mountain road behind the wheel of a very choice automobile, part of me is imagining where Hector would be. Probably sitting on the hump, if only he wasn't so worthless in a crisis, and if his best friend had looked out for him like he should have. To tell you the truth, even the hump is pretty luxe in a Bentley. It's risky, Eli agrees. But we don't have a choice. Project Osiris is so top secret that the only proof that it ever existed is inside that factory. If our parents spot us, we're right back where we started, Amber points out. We could be serving ourselves up to the purple people eaters on a silver platter. And don't forget that there are cameras all over town, adds Tori. We'll have to be really careful to avoid them. Good thing we know the place, says Eli. We grew up inside their tiny, perfect community. Our whole lives we were their lab rats and their wind-up toys. It's time to take what we learned and use it against them. All right, that's the end of that chapter. And honestly, I'm a little, shook by that. I'm surprised. I think if I were in their shoes, there's no way ever I would go back there. I'd be so scared that they would find me in brainwash me and do all those things that they were doing before to make them forget things. And I don't know. That's scary. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop and make another video for 14, but we're going to keep going and read the next chapter.